Hello everyone, this is Johannes.
And this is Sunniva.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at Burro.
This is a new game from Mike and Ode published by Spielworxx.
It plays from 1 to 4 players in 2+ hours.
Burro is a La Granja game, so we also have La Granja here because this is going to be a comparison video. We are going to review Burro, but by reviewing Burro, which makes sense for us, is to then talk about, is it different enough? What is different? Do we need them both? We will see what the answer will be, and which one should you get if you want to get one of them. So we are going to talk about it, but just as you know, we're not going to go into detail about all the stuff you're doing in Burro. We're going to think that you know a little bit about La Granja. If you don't, hopefully it will also make sense. So, Burro, in this you are a farmer in Mallorca and you're trying to do the best farming you can do by building the best farm you can do. You're going to have a farm board, you're going to have a stable board, and around this farm board you're going to play these cards. These cards are multi-use cards. They're going to have 4 different ways you can play them. You can play them on the top of your board as a market barrow. You can play them at the left of your board to get a field, which you get resources on. You can play it at the right side of your board to have like an farm administration to get more cards in your hand, to have more income. Or you can play it at the bottom of your board to give you different special abilities and workers that you can use to do bonus actions. The game is going to be played over 4 rounds. Each round is going to be the same. You're going to start off by playing a card. Every round you're going to be able to play 1 card for free. There's different actions so that you play more. And then you're going to draft some dice, which is like a big crux of the game. You're drafting dice, you're going to roll them, boom, and then you're going to draft them from around this little hexagon drafting range. There's no thematic reason why there is some drafting dice on top of this mountain, but it's there because it's a Euro game and it's fun to draft things. So you're going to do actions which let you upgrade goods, move your donkeys around this track, and do all kind of different stuff. Then you're going to do deliveries. This is kind of like the 3 parts of Burro and also La Granja. It is playing the cards, upgrading your farm, drafting the actions, doing those, and then delivering goods. So you will be able to deliver goods to the market barrows that you did play earlier in the round or earlier rounds. You'll be able to play to these different local markets depending on how far you haven't moved your donkey. There are more things to the game, but you're not going to go deeply into that because this is not a rules video. It's a comparison and review video.
Yes.
So let's start talking about stuff. For example, something you can see with your face.
Yes, and I can see the artwork and components pretty good. I have such a good eye vision.
Yes.
And I think it's a really good quality. I think the artwork by Harald Lieske is classic. It's a Euro game style, which I like, and also the components are chunky and nice, and the cards are of a nice quality as well.
Yeah, and also all the player boards are double-sided, I almost said. All the player boards have 2 sides to them. It's not like a one-dimensional thing. So it's actually not a 2-dimensional thing. It's a 3-dimensional thing. You can move it around. It's double-layered, and it is. I'm gonna say this because I love the fact that now people have started doing these double-layered do-it-yourself player boards. The only thing I would love is that if people looked at CGE's double-layered boards, where they mark where you're supposed to place the sticky dots, so it's easier to assemble them, because here you kind of have to guess. And then also I found out that there are these small things you're supposed to put on the underside, which we didn't do. We have like a filled play game play table. So it's not like hard to slide them under, but there's under there to make it just a tiny bit elevated. But then I didn't have enough of these sticky dots for that because I used more than I was supposed to on these boards because I didn't know how many I was supposed to do. Other than that, there are a few printing errors. There's like small things. The biggest thing is probably down here is that it says it's cost 3 coins to upgrade this pig to a meat. It's supposed to be 4. I don't think it's going to break the game if you play it like that. We have played it just like this. I didn't notice it because I hadn't played La Granja enough times to remember that was the price. And there's a few cards, a few things that are a little bit of a misprint, but not anything that's a huge deal. So I would say the production is 2 thumbs up.
I agree. the game also comes with a rule book.
Wow, it does. It actually has two. It has a glossary, which is really good. Having
Nice.
all the stuff, I almost put a glossary in your face.
Yes.
The glossary is really good. Has all these things that you would wonder. Like it has things, explanations for the cards.
Things.
Has things in it for everything. Probably everything you're gonna wonder throughout the game. The rulebook is good. The rulebook is about 23 pages long. The thing about this rulebook is it's put together in a way which is not my favorite way of putting together a rulebook, where it just like shows you all the concepts in the beginning. Like it after the setup here, it's gonna have like all the general concepts. It's like 2, 4, 6, 8 pages, and I usually get a bit disconnected by that. That's just like, but you know, if you are like me, you're gonna know that this is gonna be a bit harder because you have to read these things and be like, okay, but how does this connect to the gameplay? I think it was easier for me because we have played La Granja.
Yeah.
Because many of the concepts are the same. With that said, I'm very happy I hadn't played La Granja just super recently, because there are changes that if you are super into playing a lot of La Granja and then you get this, you might be a bit confused. But I'm gonna give this rulebook 2 donkeys in the air.
It also has a player aid, which I really like. It explains a lot of the symbols on one side. On the other side, it has a really nice overview of the game round and the final scoring, which we used actively to like see that we didn't miss any steps during the round, because it has a lot of steps in it.
And I would say that even though you will learn the steps pretty simply, it's nice to just do it in this order. It's like, okay, so we remember like these things kind of go by itself, but the scoring, I think, is the one that's more important to have this, because that isn't said anywhere else.
I agree.
And all the symbols. I think this is a great player aid.
Yes.
And if you're playing with 2 or 3 players, you can also just, or 4 basically, which we usually do is just put the 2 in between the players so that you have both sides of the player board or the player aid instead of having to do that. Did we play the game?
No.
Or are we just making up things as we go?
We have played a game with 2 and 3 players, and it has taken us 1 hour 40 minutes to 2.5 hours. So I think like around 2 hours, that is right.
Yeah, but it has 2+, so it's not like saying it's supposed to take 2 hours.
That's true.
How do you feel about the length of the game?
I feel that is a great length. It goes quite snappy when you're 2 players, and then when you're 3, and I guess 4 is going to be a little longer, obviously.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could get some thinking moments where you really, especially with the drafting of the dice, you think like, which action do I really need? But also in the delivery part, or when you're choosing some cards, we're going to explain that later, you can have some AP moments.
So that's the length of the game. What do you think about the width of the game?
It's a great width. It's amazing width.
Jokes
and also
are
very
best.
good depth.
Yes, depth
Yes.
is better. So the length and the depth is good. The width could have been a bit better. So now we're going to go into the deep dive of the different mechanisms. As I said, we're going to focus on what is here, what is the difference, and talking about them.
Cool.
First off, let's talk about cards.
Yes.
Sunniva, start off talking about these cards. What is differences? What is similarities? I always said like there are a lot of similarities.
Yes.
You go.
You play cards in a similar way as in La Granja, but in this game, El Burro, you start by playing 4 cards into your tableau instead of 2, so it kind of gives you a kickstart. And also the farm admin cards, which you play on your right side of your board, those are free in El Burro, and does not give you more deliveries like in La Granja.
No, because in La Granja, that was a big part of the game, trying to get more donkey deliveries so that you can deliver more stuff. Obviously, that's the same thing, just set in 2 different ways. But here, you everything is free except
for the special cards. You play special cards to get, those are final scoring basically, and they stay on your player board, so they take up space that you could have used for abilities or market borrows, for example. But those cost money to play, and it depends on which round you are in. So if you play one in round 3, you're going to pay 3 coins for it.
And like they can also be played 4 different ways. So you have like the market barrels, you have a special scoring, Then you have scorings depending on what other cards you have played.
Yes.
And the market barrels here are different because you can, like, there's a free action to deliver to them. So you can deliver like at the end of the game to
You
get
just
those
need
points.
the resources.
And they're not going to give you like bonuses, and they're going to be stuck there. So even though you play one, you could play a card. We never done it in the first round. Like playing, you could like go for one of these or one of these in the beginning, and then have like something to go for, and that might be a strategy. But going for like a market barrels. But then again, it's not often I have 3 market barrels.
No, that's true.
But early feels kind of weird.
Because you play like one card each round, it's ways to play more, but you really need those other cards as well. But playing cards in this game feels also a little easier because in La Granja you had to choose if you wanted to play cards or draw more cards, but here after you've played a card, you always draw up to your hand limit.
Yeah, so in La Granja you only drew at the beginning of the round after you play cards, and here is like every single time you play a card, you get more of them. And every time you get a card, you get to choose if you want like a special card and a normal card. So like that's also a timing I really enjoy.
I agree.
Is the like when in the timing, and I'm gonna start drawing these special cards, you're gonna have one in the beginning and not think, okay, I have kind of everything I need. Now I just try to draw these special cards to get the cards I want to score at the end of the game. Next up, let's focus on the player board. There is a lot of similarities here. Like, we're not going to go into detail. There's different of these market bonuses. Everything about the resources are the same. The big change, as you can see, if you have played La Granja, and if you haven't played it, you will also know that there is a change, is that there's no more space for roofs. So there's no drafting of roofs in the beginning of each round, which then, like, sometimes the player order is super important to be able to choose the roof that you want. The roofs, if you don't know, are like a one-time bonus. Here you have these different spaces where you can place workers. So you're going to get workers in different ways. For example, playing the cards down here. There is a bonus to get a worker up here when you do the revenue dice. And there's different small ways to get a worker. And the workers are kind of like the trade goods in La Granja. In La Granja, you got a trade good for doing different things, which were placed in a space around here. I can show you because I have the player board right here. So you placed it over here, and then anytime you could discard that to do one of the 5 different bonuses. Here, it's kind of the same, but you can only use each of the bonuses, and they're different, one time.
Yes.
So it's kind of tighter in that way. And at the end of the round, you have to pay for your workers, and then they go back to the supply. So you kind of have to choose how many do I want to use, and then maybe I need some for deliveries. So that is also like it feels kind of tighter. It might be a bit like, feels pretty similar getting the trade goods or the workers, but a bit tighter with only being able to use them once.
I think that is a really cool mechanism because you also can upgrade this. So if you think like, I'm going to do this action, getting a pig a lot of times, then I want to first make it cheaper, and maybe later I can upgrade it again to get points for it. So the more workers you have, that's really good because you can do these things, but you have to be able to pay them. You also have personal achievements. Every time you play, there's different things that you can achieve. And if you can achieve those, there are 3 in like more difficult, the lower they are, you get bonuses. And if you do all 3 of them, you also get 3 money and 3 victory points.
How do you feel about them? Do you feel that all the ones you have seen have been similarly hard to do?
Some ones feel like they are more like even out how easy or hard they are, but sometimes you get like the first one is really easy and the lower one is really hard, so they feel balanced but they feel different. And I don't feel like it's mandatory to do those, but I look at them in the beginning and think like, okay, I should probably go for these because if you go for it, they are very achievable and they give those nice bonuses.
Every time I have played, I have gone for all of them and done everyone.
Yeah,
and as I said, like they feel, I agree, they feel balanced. Some of them might feel harder for a player in the beginning because somebody might be easier to get a few of them in the beginning, but then later on you have build up. If you choose to go for them, you can do them later, which I really enjoy. The dice drafting is similar like in La Granja. The biggest change is that there's this bonus wheel in the middle. Of course, the actions are a little bit different, but the bonus wheel is what makes the big difference. It's two-sided, so you can just flip it at the beginning and place it randomly. So this game, for example, the first round, if I choose to move my donkey, which we haven't talked about yet, I will also move on the siesta track and get a coin. And the next round it's going to move, so all these bonuses changes every time. For me, I felt this made the drafting more interesting. What do you think?
I really like it as well because when you draft your first 2 dice, you will get the bonus, but the last die that is left that everybody gets to do the action on, though that doesn't get that bonus, and those bonuses are really good.
Yeah, and it makes it so I feel sometimes in La Granja there are some that are obviously better than others, and here I didn't feel that. Another thing I really like is that if you play 2 players, you aren't allowed to have more than 2 of the same number. So if you only roll only 5 dice, it's not a big chance of it happening, but it makes it so that if I roll 3 once, I have to re-roll one of them so that it gets evenly distributed a bit more at least. Let's talk a bit about the board, because we're going to take a look at the main board for La Granja.
It's so small.
It's so tiny because
Yeah.
when it feels like, and this isn't a big board.
No.
I want to say that because sometimes we've spoken about recently games being so big.
Yeah, they get so big, but I feel like this couldn't have been that much smaller because you have this donkey movement all around, which you didn't have on the old board.
That's true.
That is so typical for the older Euro games, those tiny boards.
And I think this is bigger, and it might feel like oversized. But I think this is kind of the same as the deluxe edition. We didn't take it out to check, but I think it's the same one. The biggest obvious change for this board is this main part and also these market barrows. I know that the local markets. In La Granja, these are going to be fixed, and also the market bonuses are going to be fixed. And you're going to have the market here where you're going to place your markers, and you're trying to place them on a higher number so that you are going to score points. So whenever you do a market barrow, which are in El Burro and also La Granja, the top part of the card, you're going to get to place one here, depending on how hard it is. In El Burro, you're going to score points depending on how hard it is. And then you're going to score points at the end of each round. So if La Granja was only 4 rounds, it would be harder to get a lot of points from this.
That's true.
But that's like the main way. You're trying to get the higher one because then you can't bump out. Because if somebody goes on a 2, and then later somebody plays adjacent to that and a higher number, they can bump you out to give you less points. So there are some big changes, and the biggest change is this road that you're going to move your donkey.
And that will dictate what markets are available to you. So you see that we have 2 markets that we have available to us at the beginning, but I can't deliver anything to this market before my donkey has reached this space. And that is also true for this market and the furthest away, which is that market over there. And also the markets will, you can change them out every time, and the position. So you have like those markets that you can place over here to have different things that you can deliver. Oh, that was nothing on the other side.
There was something, it's just enough gameplay wise. And it's also changed the game quite a bit because the last time we played, we ended up with 2 pretty hard ones in the beginning. And that made us really want to rush with our donkey to unlock something a bit easier, and also made the game feel quite different. And also the market bonuses are going to be laid out randomly on these different places in the beginning. The game is like recommended the first time you play to do like a specific one on each and play with the basic ones. But also that's going to be, I think there's 8 of these, so you're going to use 5 of them each game. So it's not just these ones that you do again. Let's talk a bit more about the movement of the donkeys, because you don't only unlock the market bonus, the market stalls, you also unlock different bonuses.
Yes, because when you get to a place where there's 1 donkey here, it means that your first donkey has to reach this space and you will get a water. Water is a resource that you use to manipulate your actions later, so that feels really important. Also, those with 2 donkeys, that means your last donkey has to reach this space, and this is a milestone which the more you have, the more points you will score at the end of each round.
This is kind of like the markers in La Granja, only that nobody can take it away from you. There's 3 more things to talk about regarding the donkeys. One of them is that there's 2 places on the board, or actually 3, where you decide which way you want to go. And you're going to get like a worse bonus if you go the slower, the faster route, and a better bonus if you go for the long route. Also, when you get to almost like halfway through, you're going to go to number 10. You can't move anymore because there's a landslide. And you can only move that landslide away theme. When you do something in your farm, you're going to have like an easy achievement here. That when you manage to do that, the first one's going to get a point. You can move the long way. Or if you get to do the hard one, you can go the short way with better bonuses. And these are also going to be interchangeable, so they're going to be different each time. And then when you get to the end, I'm going to cheat and move my little donkey over here. I can go into these different harbor spots. And depending on how far if I end up here, I don't have to choose, do I want to get a point? Or do I want to hope that I get more movement? Maybe I get 2 more, so I can choose to take that one. I get 5 points, and I get to choose one of these end-of-game scoring opportunities, which is basically the same as an end-of-game market barrow. I can do like a free action at the end to deliver these wares there and get more points. Also, there's going to be these round markers. I'm going to give you like either a different little small rule breaking, a scoring opportunity, and these are going to be also interchangeable. I think there's 4 of each, so there's going to be a different each time you play.
I really like those because they also, in similarities to your achievement will change a little about how you play. So you see, like here in round 2, we get extra points for doing like a goat delivery, and that means that you probably want to utilize that to get more points.
Ooh, what is a goat delivery? You ask, we will soon answer. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the siesta track. Because it's the same way as in La Granja, you are going to depend on how far people are. That's going to be the new turn order for the next round. But now you're also going to get some extra donkey movements. A really good donkey movie is probably Shrek. And you're also going to get like bonus points if you manage to one time throughout the game get all the way to the top of the track. Let's talk about deliveries.
Yes.
Because this is cool. This is one of the greatest changes of the game. I'm just going to briefly talk about the donkey deliveries, and then you can talk about the goat deliveries, which is like the cool part. Donkey deliveries are boring. They're like the same as in La Granja. You are delivering things to yourself. So you're delivering things to your market barrows or to the different local markets. But wait, there's a change. Instead of the donkey markers where you choose like, oh, do I want to move 1, 2, 3 places on the siesta track, or do I want to have like 1, 2, 3, or 4 donkey deliveries, and then they're going to be used up and you're going to get them back after 3 rounds. Now you're going to have cards. So you're going to draw 4 donkey cards, and they're going to have numbers on them, and they're going to have potentially a bonus. So you're going to do 4 different things with these 4 cards. We have already set up 2 of them. So let's say I place a card here face down, a card here face down. I'm going to place another card under my board, and I'm going to discard a card. And what happens with a card you discard, you might ask? Suna is here to answer.
That is your, like, the 3 cards that you discard in rounds 1, 2, and 3 will be your hand for the 4th round. So you will use all the cards, and that is very interesting because sometimes I'm just like, oh, I don't like that card. I really need those cards now. And I look at my hand at the end of the game, like, no, why have I chosen these cards for my last turn?
So what is, like, I love this. I really, really love this. I love that you are building your own. Somebody said online, which I really agree with, it feels like kind of like do-it-yourself biblios. Yeah. Like you are kind of the cards that you're getting, and you're choosing like 1 card here, 1 card out, this is going to be in your hand, this is going to be for the auction, and it kind of feels like a mini version of that, just doing it for yourself.
I really like the card mechanism because you have to balance, because higher numbers, you really want that, because the number actually dictates how many times you get to do these 2 things. But
and what are the 2 things?
The 2 things is moving on the siesta track. So in this case, I could move 4 on the siesta track. I can also use water to do it in 1 extra time if I wanted to, or more water. And this is the donkey deliveries that you started to talk about. So in this case, I could do only 1 donkey delivery, but I get a cool bonus. So there's some things to think about.
This is good in games because thinking about things.
Yes, I love things to think about.
I have to say, I love everything about this, except for one thing which I'm kind of like meh about.
Okay.
And that is the card you place under here, which is a card that you don't get a bonus, you only get a number, and then at the end of the round, the player who has the highest number, like adding the cards under there in the later rounds, is going to get some points. And it's not a lot of points.
Well, I have often set myself in a position where I got the points there. I haven't.
Did you win?
No, but it's 10 points during the game that you just get for free. That I feel like those are cheap points.
If only one person does it, that
Yeah.
is true. But then again, like if I get like too high numbers, I'm gonna get more points for doing donkey deliveries than getting those points.
Yeah,
So
but if I for example, I do not agree. If I, for example,
it's
have
boring.
a 3 and a 4, for example, I don't need to move one extra up on the siesta track, but the 3 has a bonus that I really want. I don't get the bonus when I put it down here.
Nope.
So then I want to play like the 4 down there, for example, if I just have 3 and 4s.
I think
for
it
example.
depends on like the order of the cards you get as well,
Yeah.
because sometimes you're gonna get like, oh, this is obviously a 1. I don't really want that one, even though the bonus is good.
Bonus is great.
So these things are
Lower the number, the better the bonus.
yeah. So the balancing there, but it's just like one thing that's like that. Doesn't really do anything for me.
So as you understand now, probably, is that how many donkey deliveries you get in El Burro depends on this number, and also if you use some water to boost the action.
And you have a couple of different ways, like you can use a worker to get another one,
Yes.
and you have like one of the market bonuses that gives you another one, so there's different ways to boost it up. So let's talk about the goats.
Yeah.
You're supposed to talk about it, so let's do it, because the goat deliveries are cool and awesome, like a goat.
The goat deliveries is very different from La Granja. You don't have the goat deliveries
No,
there, so
it's very different,
it's new.
100%.
Because in the goat deliveries, you don't deliver to yourself. You deliver a good to one of the other players.
Oh.
Or if they don't need the resource that you want to deliver, you deliver it out to the game. The reason you want to do this, you want to move on a reward track. And those you move on the track that you do with the resource that matching what you deliver. So the first step is getting these upgrades for your player board. The second is getting water. Then you can upgrade once again. So flip this tile over. And then up here you get a super cool bonus you have to choose. You could explain the upper one, please.
Yeah, you can play a card for free. So most of the time you're going to get there pretty late in the game, so you get to play like a special card for free. Or you can choose to unlock one of the different end of game scoring opportunities, which most of the time are going to get you quite a few points. You have to kind of go for something from the beginning, I feel like, with this, because it's hard enough to move 4 spaces up. So it's gonna be, you're not gonna go to the top of many tracks, maybe 2, maybe 3 if you work like very, very hard at getting extra goat deliveries. And it's very cool because you are helping somebody, but the chances is that somebody's probably gonna help you a little bit as well. So it ends up balancing itself out. And you also, even though 1 point isn't a lot in this game, it's if somebody delivers to me with a goat delivery, they're gonna get the point. I'm going to flip it. If nobody delivers to me with the goat delivery, I'm going to get the point at the end.
So that's a 2-point swing.
Yeah, so it's a kind of like a smallish thing with like, especially
but I
when
like
playing,
it though.
especially when playing multiplayer, it's like a small thing when I have to choose. Okay, it's more helpful for me to deliver to you because I want to deliver this thing, but you already delivered to that person, so then you're going to get more points and these things. It's not a big thing, but it is a thing. So what do you feel about the goat deliveries?
I think they're really nice. I think like goat deliveries feel important in this game. Sometimes you can have games where you deliver a lot of different resources and move up on a little on each track to get all of these upgrades. But also moving to the top with 1 or 2 of these tracks feels also really powerful because you can get a lot of points that way.
So we're gonna briefly, even though we have like mentioned it, the interaction in this game is different than in La Granja. In La Granja, you had the drafting of the roofs, you had the bumping out in the middle, and of course the drafting, but that is kind of the same way. I feel like here, the goat delivery is a different kind of interaction, but it's not a more interactive game. I kind of feel like it's almost a little bit less of an interactive game, which then makes it better for fewer players. How do you feel about the interaction?
I agree as well, because they haven't taken the interaction away, they've just changed it. So it feels interactive, but in a different way than before.
But I feel like this is better for fewer players. Do you agree?
I agree with that as well.
The 2-player game of La Granja was kind of meh because it's fun to do the things, but the market placing on the markers there is not that interesting. So I feel like there's much more stuff going on here that makes it work a lot better with 2. I'm gonna like, is there any other changes and any other things in Burro that you don't like outright? Like, I have a few things I said that I think are like okay, but is there anything you don't like about the game?
No, I think I like every single change. Obviously, sometimes I like also the mechanisms in La Granja, but this just feels different, kind of. So I prefer, for example, this interaction over the market in the middle of La Granja, because that felt to me a little too direct. Like, I could place on the tree stall over there, but I would rather place next to you, so I bump you out. But that feels a little mean to me.
But
personally.
It gets your points.
Yeah.
I'm going to say one thing, which is kind of like a pro and a con in a way. There's going to be 2 market bonuses placed out here. So the first player who gets 6 and 12 points is going to get that. In some games, like depending on the setup, there might be super good ones over there, which is going to give you like a big boost if you get that at the beginning. It kind of feels like you then, the player order is very important in the first round, because then if you get to make a delivery and finish enough stuff to move up there, and you have to kind of rush it if you see, like, for example, I was kind of almost got that one, but the one game you got both of them, and the other players really didn't have a way of getting it. So that adds to the interaction in the beginning of the game in a kind of weird way, because like it's like, oh, we need to rush to get this, and then that kind of dies out.
Yes.
So I feel that the player order is of course important for the dice, but it didn't feel as important than in many other games. Like, of course, with 2 players, it's not super important depending on how important it is for you to get a specific die. I felt like the player order is most important when it comes to doing the deliveries first, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I think this maybe is to balance out that, because in the beginning it's very unlikely that you're going to fulfill these deliveries, and there is such a little point difference for players who does that. But when you're later in the game, maybe you get to fulfill like both this and this in the same round. If you're the first player, then you will get a lot of points. So maybe it's to balance out that. I'm unsure how much I like this.
Yeah.
I have rushed for them all the times we played, so
Because
I
it's good.
like it.
Yes.
But I agree with your point.
So we're going to talk a bit about the weight and who is it for, and then we're going to go into final thoughts where we talk about my feelings, and I'm also going to talk about like my feelings towards La Granja and this, do you need both and all of that. So weight and who is it for?
I think this is a heavy game, but on the lighter scale of heavy, like a medium heavy game. And I think this is a little step up from La Granja. It's not that much heavier, but there's a little bit more.
More stuff.
Just more stuff. And I think that this is similar. Oh, now I'm going towards like, do we need both?
Yes, who's it for?
Yeah, Eurogamers, I would say this. What do you think?
I think that this is like, if you like La Granja, you're going to like this. I'm pretty sure about that. If you enjoy any of the kind of games that we like, you're probably going to like this, because spoiler alert, I love this game. I think that this is a very clean, it has a great flow to it. It is like, it's not that rules heavy, because when you go into it, like the first time we played, it was kind of like, okay, I have to remember this and then the cards. But then from the second time, it was like, oh, we're already at the delivery part of the first round, because it's like you play a card, you draw 2 dice, and all the actions are most of the time very small. I'm going to play a card, or I'm going to move this up, or I'm going to upgrade a resource, and then you get into the crunch of delivering, which is where some of the AP sometimes happen. But it has a great flow to it. It's one of those that if you enjoy a longer-ish game, but it doesn't feel long because it's not a long time between it's your turns, I highly recommend this. So let's talk about the final thoughts. But before that, if you are new to the channel and you enjoy what we do here, you can help us out in a big way by giving us a victory point.
And we get victory points when you click the subscribe button. You can also click the bell to get notifications every time we post a new video.
Final thoughts, you go!
Yes, I feel like I really like Burro. I like La Granja as well. I really like Burro. I feel like they have the similar DNA, but they are different games. Like 2 siblings.
Yes.
And I feel like if you can keep both Gaia Project and Terra Mystica or Age of Innovation in in your collection, then you can keep El Burro and La Granja as well. And yeah, and if you can compare those things, but I feel like I really like the changes, and I really like El Burro and La Granja as games in general. I love the dice drafting. I love the resource management to try to have the right resources at the right time to deliver them. I really like the balance between, okay, I really need those deliveries, but I also want to move on that siesta track. So I like everything about this game. I'm going to rate it a 9.
El Burro is a fantastic game. I think that the La Granja Deluxe Master Set and this is a good combination. Like, I don't know if I needed to keep just La Granja, but with the expansions and all the stuff in the Deluxe Master Set, it's gonna feel like a different enough game. And I really like La Granja. I really like the bumping of the market stalls and all of that. So this feels a bit more like even better with 2, because it doesn't have that like direct interaction that's needed from La Granja, so not that good with 2. I think that we're gonna keep both. We're gonna keep the Deluxe Monster Set and this one, and I really like it. I like it for the reasons you said. Like, it's just one of those games that makes my mind sing. It's one of those that makes me go like, I am having fun. Everything, like, you're trying to squeeze out as many deliveries you can. You're gonna squeeze out as many, playing these special cards as many as you can, using the workers in a good way, managing the achievements, trying to move here, wanting to do everything, cannot do it all. I love it to bits. 4 rounds feels really good. Highly recommend it. I'm going to give it a 9 as well.
Cool.
And that's going to be the end of this review. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Söderman.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.